He's only 26 years old, and despite multiple setbacks, his commitment and entrepreneurial mindset have paid off. Just a few months ago, Johannes made a lucrative exit with his startup Hepnu, which focused on helping people sleep better. He was also chosen to be one of the 30 under 30 Forbes list in Europe in 2024. In this episode of the Montrepreneur Podcast, he shares his story and learnings on the way. I hope this episode inspires young founders to take their shot. I really enjoyed my conversation with Johannes, and I hope you do as well.
Okay, nice. Okay, Johannes, thanks a lot for taking the time. I really appreciate being here.
Yes, thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here.
Okay, excited to for the deep talk with you on the Montrepreneur Podcast. Okay, Johannes, you are 25, if I am not mistaken. You had like many startups behind you. You had like many exits also like behind you. I think you come from the marketing background, and you made your exit like one exit to a Canadian company for your app like in the last months, and you landed on the Forbes list 30 under 30 in Germany. So tell me, who's Johannes Jäschke?
Yeah. I actually started when I was 14 years old. I founded my first venture back then. I then, this was not a typical startup to be honest here. It was kind of an artist agency, and I built it together with a partner. And I then sold my shares when I got 18 back to the partner, which was kind of like a mini exit, so to say. Then after that, I went on to study at the WHU, which is a small university here in Germany where many startup founders actually come from, like the Zalando founders and many entrepreneurs in Berlin. And I studied international management there. I founded another venture, an e-commerce venture. This time it was a real startup. Next to the studies, it worked pretty well, like in the beginning, in the first year. In the second year, we've scaled way too early and way too fast. So we ran into huge liquidity issues, which resulted in us having to close down that venture, which was sad, but an interesting learning. And then after that, I worked for several other startups, some other companies, mostly in consulting. And I then focused more and more on marketing. And then I think it's like 4 years ago, I started the next startup, which was called Hepnu, which is a mobile app for hypnosis, anxiety release, and all of that stuff. And the interesting part here is that I bootstrapped it. So I decided to not take the classic like investor road, but to fund it myself. And in order to fund that, I built a second venture like in parallel to fund that, which was a classic marketing agency consultancy business. So and then I used my profits from the marketing stuff to fund the startup, and it became profitable pretty quickly. It was a quite lean business model, and we started it like very briefly before Corona hit the world. And when Corona hit, of course, many people had more anxiety problems, sleep problems, and that helped us a lot to gain traction fast, and the numbers went up. And then it grew pretty quickly. We became pretty well known in Germany and the US, like in the hypnosis market. And then I sold the company a couple of weeks ago to a Canadian investor. And that's the path so far.
Nice, interesting. So just to understand, like the last startup you're talking about, the hypnosis app one, what's exactly like the target group, or what exactly do you help people do?
We help people primarily to fall asleep. And the target group are basically women between 40 and 60 years old. We also have younger ones, like which are between 30 and 40 years old, but the majority is a little bit older. What you can see in our UI, it's pretty simple. It's easy to understand. It does not look like all of the other apps out there, because we wanted to make it pretty simple for the target group. And it helps you to fall asleep, when you have, which is called a restless mind. You know, when you can't fall asleep because you have too many thoughts in your head. You have this, those spiraling thoughts which keep coming back and all of that stuff. And if you can't sleep because of that, then hypnosis is actually a well-researched and a pretty easy tool, which can, like, if it works pretty well. Of course, it doesn't work for everybody, but it has no side effects, so it's quite easy to try and to find out if it works. And if it works, awesome, then you can fall asleep again. And it's like 30% of the population who has sleep problems, and the richer a country becomes, the more severe the sleep problems are. And then it also helps with anxiety. Hypnosis also helps with anxiety issues, and those, you know, anxiety and sleep issues, they come together quite often. And that's basically what we did.
And how did you determine the problem, or what? I mean, you come from the marketing and the experience is there. I mean, how did you end up here?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
You're like not a woman between 30 and 40, I guess.
No, definitely not. I discovered it by accident because I was on a seminar where they teach some psychological stuff, and then in the evening a hypnotist came on stage, and, you know, was kind of an extra thing on the event, you know, a funny thing we can do at the evening to join the hypnotist and just try it out. And then I got hypnotized. You know, I didn't believe in hypnotism before. And then but I was open to it. So when he was asking who wants to come on stage, I was like, okay, let's try it out. And then I got hypnotized, and it was a very interesting feeling. And after that, I was just super hyped by hypnosis. And then I started doing the research, and I found out that it actually has a very, very bad reputation. And because, you know, at the seminar, it was presented in a very scientific way, because there are like more than 200 or 300 studies around hypnosis which show that it's kind of effective. But when I Googled it, or when I talked to people from the US about it, they were like, oh, it's probably magic and voodoo and all of that stuff. And then like, interesting. And then a couple of months later, my girlfriend actually had sleep problems. And then I was like, and she tried a hypnosis session, and it helped her to fall asleep. And then I was like, okay, now I have this interesting phenomena which has a bad reputation, but bad reputation also means a lot of potential. I had a very precise pain, which is you can't fall asleep, and hypnosis could be the solution. And then I did the research and found out that it's actually a huge problem. Then I did some interviews, and I found out that the people who suffer the most are those women between 30 and 60 years old. And that's how I came to that target group.
Interesting. And from that point on, like, how did you do your market research, or like reaching out to the clients, and how did you like develop the concept of the application?
I actually went into development pretty fast, and looking backward, I would say too fast, because we've developed the prototype in less than 30 days. So in 30 days, we went from idea to being live on the App Store and having our first customers, which is a lot of speed, which was nice. And it also kind of worked. And we got profitable like very, very fast, like within the first few months. But then we hit a plateau of growth, because we never did proper customer interviews and all of that stuff. And we didn't have enough data either to like derive the next steps. And this was quite painful in the beginning. But then, I mean, the solution was obvious. It was like, talk to your users. And then I started like talking to them, inviting them over to phone calls and all of that stuff, implemented more advanced tracking solutions so that we could see everything that happened within the app. You know, we had screen videos, so that once you open the app, we can follow you around and see what's happening. We have the same for like when the app is crashing. And we could just see everything, and then we could build like a roadmap of next steps based on that, and then growth also continued.
Okay, nice. And like, what was like the time frame you are talking about? So from the first moment you told me about the idea until the release is like 1 month, but I mean, like, from the first idea until you really had like a proper solution that you can offer to the market.
I mean, it worked in the beginning, the prototype of the first 30 days, that actually also took up, that actually worked pretty well in the first like 4 to 7 months, so to say. We had a huge amount of growth, like we almost doubled every month for this time period. Of course, COVID hit at that time, so we had a boost through that. But it really worked like for the first, let's say roughly 10 months or so.
Okay.
And then we got stuck and had to do the interviews and all of that stuff. And that took like 3 months. I mean, nowadays I do it way faster, like rather in days than a month, because I know how to do it. But that was in the beginning, like doing it for the first time.
Yeah, understand. Well, I mean, how did you reach out to the customers in the COVID time, for example, or how did you able to make a market research then?
Yeah, that was a huge pain, because customers don't want to talk to you, or didn't want to talk to us. But I see this a lot with other like mentoring persons I mentor. They all have the same problem, that it's really hard to get users to say yes to an interview. And so basically did everything I could imagine, like starting from just sending out emails to sending out push notifications, and then going on to like trying to bribe them to say, okay, you get a 15 euro Amazon gift card. You get like 1 month or like 1 year of Hepnu for free and all of that stuff. And the combination of that brought in a very steady number of interviews every week.
I mean, what was like the signs that pushed you to believe in the idea, although it was hard like to reach out to the customers? I mean, I can imagine there was like something you believed in, that it has to work to do this investment. So what was that?
It's a conviction that I don't know anything, I can either build an app for myself, and if I believe that I'm right and I know what people want, then I can just go on and build features that I have in my mind. But I came to the conviction that I actually I'm not my customer, and I can guess around for like months or years. And of course, at some point I might be right, but for every feature I develop, I have to spend money and time. So like trying to guess what users want is actually super costly and super inefficient and super risky. And so I was like, okay, why not ask the customer what they want and then give it to them? And that's what I did.
This is actually a good thing, but I mean, my question was, you made the investment, but you should have seen something, like some data, some good feedback from the users that made you believe that this idea worked. I mean, you didn't do it. So that's the question. So what was like data, or like the thing you said?
I mean, I tried to measure everything, but the North Star, so to say, was first of all, the in-app conversion rate, like out of 1,000 installations, how many end up paying, because that showed us like, are we using the right messaging on the onboarding? Are people understanding what they are doing, and like how they can use the app? That was like key metric number 1. Metric number 2 was weekly active listeners, because some people have metrics like daily active users or something like that. But for our app, that didn't hold true, because the people, they don't have sleeping or anxiety issues every day, but pretty surely they have it like once a week. So we determined most of them come back every week. And if they come back and listen, they will probably end up paying at some day. So we have to rise the weekly active listeners. and that was like the second north star metric, and then of course MRR growth. I mean,
Okay,
that's the ultimate truth, like if
Yeah.
things are working or not.
And what was like, I mean, your business model in that time? Because you said, I mean, you had already paying customers.
In-app subscriptions, pretty basic. We had a monthly subscription and a yearly subscription. We also experimented with lifetime subscription, but this in Germany is, I think it's not even allowed to have, because you can't promise that to people that
Yeah.
you'll be around forever. So we then just dropped that and had a monthly and a yearly subscription. Pretty simple.
Okay. And from that on, I mean, where was like the moment when you did do the exit? Because now I mean, you scaled up, you had the paying customers, you had the feedback, you developed like the features you knew your customer wanted, and from that point on, I mean, did you scale up your customers, or did you went to the exit solution? What was like?
First of all, there was a scaling period, which was for, I would say, another 1 to 1.5 years, where we drove the revenue up. And then there was, how do I call it, an operational downsizing, so to say, you know, where I automated basically everything inside the business, until I only had like 1 hour per month to work. And I used that with like, I did that with automation softwares, with freelancers and all of that stuff. So the business basically run by itself. And then after that, I started to prepare for the exit, and then like do the exit process, like finding buyers, then like making the numbers look not better, but like beautiful, like preparing everything, you know, that it looks attractive to buyer and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And how did you, I mean, what makes you like make the decision that I want to exit right now? I mean, why not scaling that further? Because if I understood that correctly, you didn't have any investment. I mean, you had your own bootstrapping, and then your own profit from the marketing company, putting in your startup and then scaling, right?
Yeah. Because it was a factor of several things. First of all, investor, of course, I thought a lot about getting an investor in, but at that moment in time, when I decided that, and still for now, I don't want to have an investor, because I like freedom. I like being independent, and you know, that's why I founded the company. And I also work for a family office where I like invest for my clients a lot of startups. And I mean, I see the terms we are using. I know why we're doing that. I work a lot with VCs, like understand how they're doing business, see the contracts and all of that stuff. And working with VCs is great if you maximize for impact and speed and all of that stuff, but it comes at a cost, because they don't give you millions and expect like nothing in return. I mean, they have the security clauses and all of that stuff inside the contract. And I decided that I don't want that, because at this moment in time, I value freedom a lot. I want to like travel the world. I want to, you know, just do things I like doing.
Yeah,
and
I think I totally relate and understand that.
Yeah, I think many entrepreneurs have the same goal. So, and then I figured out having an investor is like the opposite of that, and it's not the best at the moment. So this wasn't an option. And at the same time, I felt like, you know, I've spent 3 or 3.5 years of my life working on that topic, and I was just like bored of that and wanted to start something new, and just also just learn how to do this exit with an external person properly. How's the process like? And then I decided to sell it.
No, it's. I mean, if I were you, I would also like exactly do the same. I can totally relate to the freedom part you said. I mean, and in the past, I didn't really understand like how investments work, but now I do, and I can totally relate. I can totally understand. So, okay, from that point on, okay, you decided to sell. So, how did you approach the buyer? Because I don't have like any experience in selling a company or doing exits. So I really would love to know like how do you approach them? Like how? So.
It's actually, and this is a funny thing, it's like every other sales process I've ever done in my life. The only thing is it's more emotional because I've spent years on building what I'm now selling, and usually that's not the case.
Yeah.
But you start by identifying your ideal customer profile, which is like in the M&A terms, your ideal buyer profile. So you just sit down and think of who could be interested in buying my startup. And then you think of, okay, how do I present, like, how do I craft the messaging? Like, that's called the equity story in M&A terms. Like, how do I present the story of why I'm selling and why this is valuable and all of that stuff. And then you also think of like USPs or what makes your company special. You think of the potentials and all of that stuff. And then I had like a two pager Word document, and which was like the sales document that I sent out. And of course, all of the financial, the contracts for the due diligence and all of that stuff in the background. But this 2-page Word document was, like the main selling points. And then I basically wrote a teaser, which was like a 2 or 3 sentence, like, hey, I'm thinking of finding someone else. What was the exact sentence? But it was, I don't quite remember exactly what it was, but it was like, hey, I want to move on to a new project. I'm looking to someone who wants to take over Hepnu. If this is interesting for you, just let me know.
Okay.
And then I send it out to like competitors, of course, because they're always interested in buying you. I've sent that out to partners on the app because I had other hypnotists on the app. And one of the hypnotists then was the owner of a hypnosis clinic in Canada, and was also investing in startups, and he ended up buying the Hepnu then. So that worked. And then I also tried out the marketplace. I don't know if you know, but there are like real marketplaces where you can sell your company, and they have like lots of investors on board. And through the marketplace, I talked to like a small PE company, just a private investor from Germany who was really interested, and like a group of people who just bought one app in the wellness space after the other. So yeah, I ended up with 5 or 6 potential buyers. And in the really end, I got 3 really, really excited to buy it. And then I had, like a little competition among them, which of course helped to increase.
Yes, that's cool, nice. How were you like the only person worked on Hepnu, or did you have a team?
In the beginning, we had a team. I also had some co-founders, but they left pretty quickly because after university, it's a pretty bad time to found a company. Because we all had to earn money at some point, and then they got very attractive other offers. One of them also made an exit at like the same time with a different company he joined. So it's quite funny, and I'm thinking of like founding another company with him like next year. But most of the time I was alone, and I had a small team in the beginning, and then I changed that to working with freelancers. Because again, if you have a huge team, then you have to manage the team. And this is like, I call it a communication overhead, which just takes time. And then, I didn't want that. So I automated everything, had freelancers, that could like manage themselves. And so in the end, I was like the only person actively working in Hepnu, plus like a freelance team of like 3 to 7 people.
Nice. And would you say that helped you, like would you say like you preferred like to be alone in the exit process than having a team that made everything easier for you, or would you say you wished you had a team?
I mean, from the equity perspective, it's of course more interesting to be alone. So let's be honest here. but from the emotional roller coaster, it helps tremendously having a team. Yeah, so I wish I had a team there, but looking back now, of course, it's nicer to own everything than to share.
Yeah, I mean, I asked you the question because you mentioned like freedom many times, and this is also like a commitment if you have like other people and you have to make compromises sometimes. Could be hard, could be beneficial.
Yeah. I would say for the next one, I definitely want to go through it with the team, especially if the numbers get bigger, because it is super intense, because it's just like a lot of money at the stake of course, both parties try to negotiate as much as they can. So yeah, lots of emotional ups and downs.
Nice. Would you like to share like like numbers we are talking about, or would you prefer to say just no?
I would like to talk about it, but I'm not allowed to talk about it because we had a non-disclosure agreement within the sales contract. But what I can say, it's a mid-six-figure deal, which is quite nice because I started it with a total investment of 8,000 euros. So it's a nice.
It's very nice. Cool. And what's like next for you? Because you say like, okay, I learned a lot. Right now, okay, new project, new more freedom maybe. What's the next for you?
A couple of things. I worked a lot in biotech over the last few weeks because I thought it's an interesting field. Right now, I'm not so sure anymore, but let's see what the future holds, because biotech is a pretty slow industry. If you have something that works, it's awesome. But I like having a high time to failure ratio, or like I want to get to failure as fast as possible, because then I can iterate faster if I work, because basically startups is a numbers game. And we all have to be aware of that, or founding companies in general is a numbers game. So 1 out of 10 projects might work. Of course, every entrepreneur thinks like, okay, I'm the 1 out of the 10, it's going to work. But the reality is, no, it's not that way. But nevertheless, since I want to play that game, I know the numbers, I know that I have to like try 10 to 20 times to get a few successes, at a few big hits. So time to failure gets crucial, because if I now am in the biotech field and it takes like 2 years to find out if something works, then for the 10 failures, I need, 10 times 2 years, I need 20 years. And since I want to be successful when I'm young already, this is not a great strategy. So I now switch to projects, or want to switch to projects where I can fail faster, so that, the best case would be to fail in 30 days, so that I can get to the 10 tries like within 1 year. Even.
1 year, yes.
Yeah. So that's one thing, like finding a new project to work on with the criteria I just mentioned, also with the co-founder from Hepnu. And then besides doing that, I try to wrap all of my knowledge into kind of like a structured mentoring program, because one thing that I, as a non-technical founder, wished to have like every time when I founded something, was just someone who like shared all the lessons with me, just like, that's also the motivation why I'm on the call with you today, because like I want to be or become that person that I wish I had when I started out. And I want to put all of that into like a structured program, because even though I think neither I nor anybody else can make someone successful, it helps to avoid like the common pitfalls a lot. And
I can totally relate. I wished like in many situations I had a mentor that I can trust, because we live in a world like a lot of mentors out there, a lot of coaches out there, but you cannot trust like everyone who didn't make the process. That was like my I'd say like suffer in that, or because I heard like a lot of advices, and maybe some of them were good, but I didn't have like the one person who I really trusted and did the process and just told me, okay, you have to avoid that and you have to avoid that. So I can totally relate for that. Go ahead.
That's what I'm trying to build. Is but it's a lot of stuff to like comprehend
Yeah,
over the last few years. So yeah, but that's the next step. So putting that into a program, and then founding another company, and then do it like until the next exit comes around.
Okay, great. Talking about like the industries, I mean, you just mentioned like the bio one, but what other industries could you think of where you can fail very, very fast? For example, AI.
Yeah.
um,
I think it's not only a question of the industry. There are actually strategies which make you fail fast in many industries. Biotech is a bad example because in biotech, if you have like a blood test for cancer or something, of course there's going to be a market for that, but there is not a market risk, there is a technology risk. So the challenge lies in building it. So every industry where there's a real technology risk, those are probably the slower markets, which I would avoid for the short term. Because like if I have like millions in a bank account, then I can basically live forever from the dividends, and then I can move to that games which can take longer, because I can wait forever.
Sure.
But until I get there, I would avoid those industries and start with the industries where there's market risk, which means the biggest risk is not in can I deliver, but can I find people who actually buy what I've built. And you can be pretty fast in those industries because you can use a pre-sales method. So you try to sell before you build. And you can, if you have to write outreach messages and the processes in place, you can be super, super fast in finding out if people want it. You can get them to sign to a pre-launch offer or to like becoming a pilot customer or something like that. And that means that if you can't sell it within like 30 days, then probably it's not that interesting, So I would choose every industry where you have the market risk, and those can be AI, of course, but this can be everything else. You can also pre-sell e-commerce stuff, so physical products, but not the very technical.
This is actually an interesting point. So what you are mentioning is you would love to have a strategy where you can avoid heavy investment and building a product like that no one needs.
Exactly. Because I think this is the biggest risk. And this is also the biggest like time-consuming thing. If you always build for like 6 to 12 months, and then you find out it does not work, you're pretty slow. But if you try to sell it for 30 days, find out it doesn't work, sell the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah, I understand. Would you say like it's much easier because your product, the last one is like B2C, if I understood that correctly? Would you say like B2B could be more interesting like for you?
Yeah, so Hepnu, for a big portion of Hepnu, it was B2B actually, because we also generated leads for the hypnosis clients we had on the app. So, we had customers listening to the app, and then the app served kind of as a lead magnet and brought people to the hypnotist. And that's also one of the reasons why the hypnosis investor from Canada bought us, because he was like, okay, Hepnu is actually a great lead magnet for me, for my clients. So that's why he extracted the value out of the company.
Okay, I understand. Cool.
So it was kind of B2B, and nowadays I only work with B2B companies because I feel like the process is way easier than doing B2C sales. Because if you get one B2B client, you only need a few of them and you'll have a very profitable business.
You also have the risk also, like if one client just moved away, so you are going to lose 50% of your revenue, or probably like 10% or whatever. Like it depends on how many clients you have.
Yeah, that's the downside, but for starting, it's way faster.
It's great, yes. No, actually, that was like my learning from my last startup, because like my last startup was like B2C, and I realized like when launching, okay, I have to make so many sales like until I generate revenue, and it's like so like I'd say it is hard, especially like at the beginning. It's easier maybe like if you have like enough customers and to scale up. But now, I mean, if I'm starting business right now, and this is why I'm pivoting right now, I will be like B2B and service-based business where I can exactly do what you say, fail fast and just realize if there's need for your service by reaching out. Are they interacting? Are they investing their time? Are they hopping on calls like with you or not? So are they investing their time? If not, they're not. So they are not investing like their money. So that's also things that I had to learn like the hard way. I can totally relate. So.
Yeah, very important learning. I mean, B2C is possible, but the methods are different, and you have to be way better in marketing.
Yes.
And when you use marketing, then you can't use like your personal charm or something like that. So you have to build a brand, and you have to do the marketing stuff, and that just takes more time, is riskier, and needs more money. We have to be honest here. Mass marketing is super expensive or super time consuming, which comes down to the same thing if you think about opportunity cost. And yeah, B2B is just like send 100 messages on LinkedIn to 100 people in your industry. And if you have the right wording, you probably do some sales. Sure. And then you're in business. And then it's also easier raising capital if you want to.
100%. Yeah. Okay, cool. From that point on, I mean, I would love to move into the second subject, like the Forbes 30 under 30, but I would love to give you first a chance if you want to say like any words like about last app or anything you would make different, for example, like if you have to build it again.
I would use the time in the beginning to build a community, to get in touch with my audience way earlier. And for the app that I've built, I would actually have used angel investors or outside capital, because it's a B2C software game, and capital would have helped. But I mean, it's always easy to say that 4 years later when you know how everything turned out. So back then I would not have made a decision, but for the next startup I might think differently. But of course, now I also know how to negotiate with investors. I know all of the contracts, so it's easy to say, but then I would do differently now. Everything else was quite good.
Okay,
and
nice.
I would invest way more in mentors, to be honest. There are like different platforms out there where you can rent a mentor for like 1 hour or something, and every time I get stuck, and that's what I do now, then I just book someone who costs like 400 euros an hour, and then I ask all of my questions for like 1 hour, and I get a so huge return on invest on that. It's incredible. So I could just recommend that, or find a mentor who guides you like through the whole process if he has done something similar before.
Okay, great. I mean, I was like laughing when you mentioned the first point, because it was like exactly like my realization in my app. I was like telling my co-founder, okay, you know, we have like a real like very cool product, but no one using it. Maybe probably like one community WhatsApp group with like 100 active users is more worth than our application. And he was like, yeah, you're right. You know. So I think that I really underestimated like in the earliest time, but I will avoid for sure like in the future. Okay, cool. Tell me about the other story, because I would really love to hear about it. I mean, I didn't know like about the list until I saw like many posts on LinkedIn, and then I saw you also like on the list. So I was like, okay, and I thought like Forbes is like something for I don't know, like very, very, very big celebrities in America or whatever. So tell me.
I mean, that you are referring to like the original Forbes list, which are the like the 100 or 500 wealthiest people on the world. This is usually known as the Forbes list, and that's what I'm like trying to get at in the future. So it's quite nice to be like on the younger list, where the Forbes editorial team just looks at, think like many promising entrepreneurs or sports stars or influencers or some, media stars, and then just nominates 30 of them every year to be like on this 30 under 30 list. And That's basically all there is to say about this list. And then you get like invited to, this year it was Vienna, but I think it's different cities every year. And then they have a huge event where they just reveal who's on the list. And then, yeah, you're basically on that list. They have an alumni club where you meet up with other people. So for networking, it's great. And that's it. I'm just like, I feel very honored to be on that list. That's a nice kind of achievement, so to say. But I don't know how you, I mean, I think it's just like the accumulation of everything I've did over the last couple of years. So yeah.
Okay. No, congratulations.
Thank you.
And is it like only for the DACH region, or how is it?
It depends. They have different kind of lists. Of course, the classic one is in the US, but I'm not really deep into their system. They have one for the European cities, countries. I bet they have something for Asia and South America as well, but I'm not into that. But there are like different kind of lists depending on the country where you're in.
I understand. So it's like more regional, because I thought it's like per country or something. Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. You don't know like the list here. Okay, I have that list.
I was like, okay, I'm on that list. I'll take it.
Okay, nice, cool, great. Is there like any insights you'd like to share from your whole journey? Because I mean, we talked like basically on your last experience, but for sure you had like many other experiences. Many of them failed. Some of them made like smaller successes. So is there like any lessons, insights you would like to share?
The one which I already shared, which is try to fail fast, because it really helps. It's a numbers game. Then don't be blinded by VC money, because many people see it like as the ultimate validation of that they're in business. Where I would say the only validation that you're in business is you're making revenue and a profit. In the last years, people also forget to make a profit, which is ridiculous. I mean, I can feel it. I understand the model, how they think, but it's just a risk, as you can see right now. But having someone to invest in you is like not the goal. It's only a means to an end. So I'd rather strive for revenue and for profits than for investments. But if they are necessary to get more revenue, then yeah, I'm also in for investment. But investments come at a price, and you have to be aware of that. And you have to have good lawyers and good consultants, and you have to pay them, because if you don't pay them, then they won't serve you, but your investor, even though they say the opposite. Be aware that VCs are sharks. They are not your friends, even though they pretend to be. And they are always nice, but they are not. I hope you get what I'm saying. Yeah, it's I think many founders are like too naive, and it's not like you see on TV. And yeah, that's regard to investors. Then regards to marketing, always do the math. I would say marketing is pretty easy, and if you just think, also sales is pretty easy, and it always comes down to a numbers game. And if you just like do the math and you're like, okay, I want to do this marketing activity, then just do an estimation of, okay, how many people will see it? Then what's the percentage of those people who will actually come to my website? What's the percentage of those people actually downloading my app? What's the percentage of people who download the app and then buy something? And then if they buy something, what's the revenue I get out of that? And then you can say, okay, this marketing activity costs me like 5,000 euros, and it will bring me 5 new customers, and I earn like 100 euros. Then I get 500 euros for spending 5,000. Is this a good deal? Yes or no? I mean, you don't need to pay an expensive agency for you, because it's pretty simple. Yeah, you can do it in your head. Of course, the numbers will vary a little bit, but don't expect miracles. You can do this for everything you do. And the same with developing new features, or be it e-commerce, like a physical product, or be it a digital product. just do the same thing. Calculate how many people will see it, how many people will use it. Will it lead to an increase in conversion rate or a decrease? Will people buy because of that? What do you think is the percentage of people who will do it? And then you can say, okay, developing this feature is like 5,000 euros and will bring me, I don't know, 500 euros per month. How many months do I need until I get my return on invest? And when you like think through every decision you make just like that, then you will get ahead way faster, get a way better understanding for risk and returns, and then you will make better decision and get closer to your goal faster.
Okay, great. I really appreciate it. I can really relate to everything you said. Thanks a lot.
Nice. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Johannes, where can people find you?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the easiest place to find me.
Okay, I will link that in the description.
Awesome. And if anyone has questions, then just feel free to shoot a message. And yeah, I'll get back to you in a couple of days.
Okay, Johannes, I really, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And I wish you all success. You are going to be big. I'm very, very, very sure. I'm happy to do like this podcast episode again, like maybe in 1 year or 2 years. And
Yeah.
you can see and reflect like
what happened in between. Yeah.
Maybe on the other Forbes list. Then
I'll do my best. Yes. Thanks for having me.
Sure.
And have a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much.